mystery dating back to World War II and collect the riches that may come along with it. Legend has it that a Nazi train filled with gold was lost 7 decades ago.
Buried deep beneath the mountains of Poland, a ghost story from World War II has finally come back to life. For decades, treasure hunters chased whispers of a Nazi train loaded with gold, priceless art, and something far more disturbing. Now, thanks to cutting-edge artificial intelligence, the legend isn't just real. It's horrifying. What the AI uncovered shocked even the most skeptical historians. But the real question isn't just what was found. It's why it was hidden in the first place. The legend of the Nazi gold train. Imagine a train so secretive, so heavily laden with unimaginable wealth, that it vanished without a trace in the chaos of World War II and became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. This is the story of the Nazi gold train. As the Third Reich was crumbling in the final months of 1945, Allied forces were closing in from every direction. Hitler was dead. Berlin was a rubble-strewn battlefield, and the Nazis were desperate to hide or smuggle away their treasures. Among these was a rumored armored train filled to the brim with stolen gold, precious artifacts, and priceless artworks taken from occupied countries and persecuted peoples, especially Jewish families. The story goes that in early 1945, as Soviet troops advanced rapidly through Poland, Nazi officials loaded this train deep within the mountainous forests near the town of Wałbrzych, then called Waldenburg, intending to transport the loot to a secret location in Germany. But then, mysteriously, the train disappeared. Some say it was hidden in a tunnel, others claim it was buried or destroyed. What is certain is that it was never recovered. Official records about the train are scarce or non-existent, adding to the air of mystery. Over the decades, rumors flourished. Was the train destroyed to keep its contents from falling into enemy hands? Or was it hidden, waiting for the day when its secrets could be unearthed? Treasure hunters, historians, and conspiracy theorists alike have been captivated by this legend. Some have scoured the rugged landscape of southwestern Poland, digging and drilling in hope of finding even a fragment of the train. Others have pored over wartime documents and eyewitness accounts, trying to piece together the truth. What makes this story especially tantalizing is the potential value of what's hidden. Estimates of the gold's worth run into hundreds of millions of dollars. But it's not just about money. The train is believed to carry priceless works of art stolen from museums across Europe, from paintings by masters like Rembrandt and Vermeer to rare historical artifacts, vanished under the chaos of war. Many governments have tried to keep the story under wraps. For decades, Polish and German authorities downplayed or outright denied the existence of such a train. Officially, no credible evidence was ever found, and the gold train was dismissed by some as nothing more than wartime myth. Yet, whispers persisted in the local communities, and treasure hunters kept searching. The allure of the Nazi gold train extends beyond just treasure hunting. It taps into deep questions about history, justice, and memory. The gold and art represent not only material wealth, but also the human cost of war, stolen from victims of genocide and oppression. Recovering these lost treasures isn't just a matter of riches, it's about reclaiming history. Over the years, the legend has inspired books, documentaries, and films. It has become a symbol of the unresolved mysteries of World War II and a reminder that even decades later, the shadows of that terrible conflict still linger beneath the surface. But until recently, the Nazi gold train remained buried in myth and rumor, hidden in darkness, waiting for the right key to unlock its secrets. Something extraordinary happened. Artificial intelligence, a technology usually associated with self-driving cars and chatbots, became the key to uncovering one of history's darkest secrets: how AI reconstructed the train's location. You might wonder, How does AI help find a lost train that disappeared 80 years ago? The answer lies in the power of machine learning, pattern recognition, and the ability to analyze vast amounts of data that no human team could possibly process on their own. The story begins with a team of international researchers, historians, and data scientists who came together with one mission: to finally locate the Nazi gold train. Traditional searches had been costly and fruitless, but these experts turned to satellite imagery, historic maps, and aerial photographs taken during and after World War II. The problem? All these data sources were fragmented, sometimes decades old, often contradictory, and incredibly complex. This is where AI entered the picture. Using advanced machine learning algorithms, the team fed the AI thousands of images of the mountainous terrain around Wałbrzych. The AI was trained to detect subtle anomalies, signs that could suggest hidden tunnels, disturbed earth, or unusual structural formations. It could spot patterns invisible to the naked eye, such as faint shadows cast by underground cavities or unnatural soil discolorations. But that was only the beginning. The AI also cross-referenced these physical signs with historical records, wartime documents, transport logs, and eyewitness testimonies digitized and analyzed for clues about where the train might have been concealed. By combining these layers of information, the AI created a detailed three-dimensional map of the area as it looked during and after the war. The breakthrough came when the AI identified a cluster of suspicious structures that matched descriptions of underground tunnels from World War II engineers' blueprints found in archives. This wasn't just guesswork. These were verifiable features consistent with railway tracks running into a hidden cavern system. For the first time, the researchers had a target location, not just an approximation, but a precise spot in the forest where the train could be hidden. They shared their findings with local authorities, who authorized a discreet excavation. The significance of this achievement cannot be overstated. It marked the first time artificial intelligence was successfully applied to solve a long-standing archaeological and historical mystery. More importantly, it illustrated how technology could unlock truths buried beneath layers of time and secrecy. This technological leap also sparked a new wave of interest and hope. If AI could find the Nazi gold train, what else could it discover? Lost artifacts? Hidden mass graves? Forgotten relics of history? But with this power came new challenges. The use of AI in uncovering wartime secrets raised ethical and legal questions. Should everything hidden in the past be revealed? What happens when governments lose control over their secrets because of technology? As the excavation began, those questions hovered in the background. The world watched, waiting to see what the machine had uncovered, and whether history would finally be laid bare. Descent into darkness. With the AI's pinpointed location, the excavation team prepared for what was expected to be a historic but straightforward discovery. What lay beneath, however, was far more complex and far more terrifying than anyone had imagined. The excavation began quietly, shrouded in secrecy and heavy security. Officials feared that the treasure could attract looters, or worse, trigger political tensions. Deep in the dense forest near Wałbrzych, heavy machinery tore into the earth, uncovering a hidden network of tunnels long forgotten by time. Finally, the unmistakable silhouette of a train appeared, an armored, rusted beast frozen in the shadows of history. The train's carriages were sealed tight, their contents intact after 8 decades underground. The world's collective breath seemed to pause. But the initial awe soon gave way to shock. Inside the carriages, alongside heaps of gold bars and glittering artifacts, lay piles of documents, thousands of pages of Nazi records never before seen by historians. These papers detailed covert operations, secret alliances, and plans that challenged everything we thought we knew about the final days of the Third Reich. Yet the most disturbing discovery was not the treasure or the documents. It was what else was hidden inside the train. In one carriage, forensic teams uncovered evidence suggesting the Nazis may have been transporting biological materials, possibly weaponized viruses or toxins. The realization sent chills through the scientific community. The train wasn't just a loot carrier. It was a mobile vault for some of the darkest secrets of Nazi experimentation. Moreover, human remains were found in sealed containers, remnants of prisoners from concentration camps or victims of horrific experiments. These macabre finds forced investigators to confront the gruesome reality that the train was more than a treasure chest. It was a chilling reminder of humanity's capacity for cruelty. News of these discoveries spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to respond. Museums and universities demanded access, and the public grappled with a mix of fascination and horror. Archaeologists and historians called for calm and careful study. The artifacts needed preservation, the documents decoding, and the remains given a dignified examination. But behind the scenes, tensions simmered. Some countries saw the discovery as an opportunity to reclaim stolen heritage, while others worried about the political fallout. For the excavation team, the psychological toll was heavy. Many reported nightmares and unease, overwhelmed by the weight of the history buried beneath their feet. The train had revealed not only lost treasures, but a dark chapter still raw and painful. This discovery raised profound questions. How far had the Nazis gone in their secret plans? How much of this darkness remains hidden in forgotten corners? And what responsibility does the modern world bear in confronting these truths? Who owns the gold? The unearthing of the Nazi gold train didn't just unlock hidden treasure. It opened a Pandora's box of ethical and legal questions that continue to ripple across the globe. Now that the loot was no longer just a myth, but a reality, who truly had the right to claim ownership? At first glance, the answer might seem simple. The gold and artifacts should belong to Poland, where the train was found. After all, it had been buried on Polish soil for over 80 years. But the reality is far more complicated. The gold wasn't just any treasure, it was stolen property, forcibly taken from Jewish families, museums, and entire countries during the horrors of Nazi occupation. Many Jewish organizations immediately stepped forward, demanding restitution on behalf of the victims and their descendants. For them, the gold isn't just a valuable metal. It's a painful symbol of loss, persecution, and the unspeakable crimes committed during the Holocaust. The idea of any nation or individual profiting from these stolen riches felt deeply wrong. Germany, too, found itself in a tricky position. While not the finders, it was the country responsible for the theft and devastation wrought during the war. Some argued that the German government should help ensure the gold is returned to rightful owners, or used to support survivors and their families. Others contended that any recovered assets should be held in trust as part of a global effort to acknowledge and atone for Nazi crimes. International law offers some guidance, but no clear-cut answers. The 1954 Hague Convention and subsequent treaties address the protection of cultural property during armed conflict, but they are often vague or limited when it comes to treasure recovered decades later. Cases involving Nazi-looted art have set some precedents, where courts ordered the return of stolen paintings to rightful heirs, but large-scale disputes over gold and artifacts are less common and more complex. Moreover, many of the victims are no longer alive, making claims difficult to prove. In some cases, entire families were wiped out, leaving no direct heirs. Who then can lay claim to these lost treasures? The Polish government, balancing national pride with international pressure, declared the find a national heritage site and called for an international commission to oversee the distribution and study of the artifacts. This decision was welcomed by some but criticized by others as slow or politically motivated. Beyond legalities, the moral debate is profound. Can wealth stolen through genocide ever be owned in the traditional sense? Should recovered treasure be auctioned, returned, or preserved in museums as a reminder of history? How do we honor the victims while grappling with the practicalities of such a massive find? Some propose using the recovered gold to fund Holocaust education, memorials, and reparations. Others fear that it could be exploited for political gain or even spark new conflicts over ownership. What complicates matters further is the train's disturbing contents beyond gold and art: biological materials, documents revealing war crimes, and human remains. These findings require international cooperation and sensitive handling, reminding the world that some secrets come with heavy responsibilities. The ethical questions surrounding the Nazi gold train resonate beyond this single discovery. They touch on broader issues about justice, memory, and how societies confront dark pasts. In an era where history is being rewritten with new technologies, the question remains: how do we ensure that uncovering the past leads to healing rather than more division? For now, the world watches closely as governments, survivors groups, historians, and legal experts negotiate a path forward, one that respects the victims, acknowledges history's wounds, and hopefully brings some measure of justice. What happens when a buried secret threatens to crack open old wounds between countries still haunted by the same war? Pandora's box. The discovery of the Nazi gold train was a landmark moment not only in archaeology and history, but in technology itself. Artificial intelligence, once the realm of sci-fi and futuristic dreams, had proven it could unlock mysteries that eluded humans for decades. But this breakthrough also opened a Pandora's box of questions about what else might be hiding in the shadows and what it means for our collective future. AI's ability to process and analyze massive datasets, identify hidden patterns, and create detailed reconstructions is revolutionizing fields from medicine to astronomy. Now, it's doing the same for history and archaeology, peeling back layers of time and secrecy that were once impenetrable. Across the globe, researchers have begun using AI to locate lost cities buried beneath deserts, ancient shipwrecks sunk in ocean depths, and even previously unknown mass graves from conflicts long past. This new era of discovery is thrilling, promising to rewrite textbooks and reshape our understanding of history. But there's a darker side. The Nazi gold train is a chilling example of what happens when technology exposes not just treasures, but atrocities. The biological materials and human remains found aboard remind us that some secrets carry heavy, painful truths. AI could potentially uncover more evidence of war crimes, genocides, and human rights violations, evidence that some governments or groups might prefer to keep hidden. This raises ethical dilemmas. Should everything hidden in the past be uncovered? Who decides which secrets the world is ready to see? The release of such sensitive information could reopen old wounds, destabilize regions, or even provoke new conflicts. Furthermore, the use of AI to locate these sites often involves intrusive methods like satellite surveillance and data mining, which can raise privacy concerns. In some cases, uncovering sensitive sites could lead to political or cultural backlash, particularly if local communities feel excluded from decision-making. Governments worldwide are grappling with these challenges. Some have embraced AI as a tool for transparency and justice. Others fear it threatens national security by exposing classified information or embarrassing historical narratives. At a cultural level, AI-driven discoveries force societies to confront uncomfortable truths. How do we process revelations that challenge national myths or expose previously ignored atrocities? The Nazi gold train's uncovering sparked global debate about memory, responsibility, and the role of technology in shaping history. There's also a psychological impact. For archaeologists, historians, and communities connected to these sites, AI's revelations can be both a gift and a burden. The excitement of discovery is tempered by the weight of trauma and ethical responsibility. Looking forward, it's clear that AI will continue to play a growing role in uncovering the past. But with this power comes a need for careful stewardship. Historians, technologists, governments, and affected communities must collaborate to ensure that these discoveries are handled with respect, sensitivity, and a commitment to truth. The Nazi gold train may be just the beginning. What other dark histories lie buried, waiting for AI to shine a light on them? And as we peer into the shadows of the past, are we prepared for what we might find? Conspiracies, cover-ups, and the world's reaction. When the news of the Nazi gold train's discovery broke, it didn't just capture headlines. It ignited a wildfire of conspiracy theories, political intrigue, and suspicion. For decades, the train's existence had been dismissed by many as myth or legend. Now that the truth was out, some wondered who wanted it buried and why. Almost immediately, whispers of cover-ups began circulating. Certain governments, intelligence agencies, and powerful individuals allegedly had reasons to keep the train's secrets hidden. After all, the contents weren't just valuable. They implicated dark chapters of history that many preferred remained forgotten. Reports surfaced of attempts to delay or obstruct the excavation. Equipment failures, unexplained accidents at the dig site, and sudden funding cuts fueled speculation that someone was trying to stop the truth from coming out. Some members of the excavation team reported mysterious phone calls and shadowy figures near the site. The media frenzy only amplified the mystery. Social networks exploded with theories ranging from secret Nazi survival cells guarding the train to claims that the train contained proof of hidden alliances and covert operations that could destabilize current governments. On the diplomatic front, reactions varied widely. Poland declared the find a national treasure and sought to protect it fiercely, while Germany expressed cautious support but urged restraint and dialogue. Other countries with a stake in the stolen art and gold began pressing for a role in handling the artifacts. Some historians worried that sensationalism threatened to overshadow the importance of the discovery, turning it into a conspiracy spectacle rather than a serious historical investigation. Yet, there were also darker rumors, allegations of disappearances linked to those who got too close to the truth. While unconfirmed, these stories added an eerie layer to the unfolding saga, reminiscent of Cold War espionage thrillers. Despite the chaos, the discovery galvanized a renewed global interest in World War II history and the ongoing impact of Nazi crimes. Public debates raged over how to balance transparency with security and justice with diplomacy. Lost legacies and lingering pain. When we hear about the Nazi gold train, it's easy to get caught up in the glittering promise of gold bars, priceless art, and secret treasures. But behind the metal and jewels lies something far more profound. A trail of shattered lives, stolen identities, and families torn apart by war and genocide. The gold wasn't just wealth, it was the hard-earned savings, heritage, and memories of millions of people who were brutally uprooted and silenced. Take, for instance, the story of the Weiss family from Prague. Before the war, they owned a thriving business and a collection of family heirlooms passed down for generations. During the Nazi occupation, their property was seized, their valuables confiscated, and their lives uprooted. Many members of the family perished in concentration camps. For decades, their descendants searched for any trace of what was lost. The discovery of the Nazi gold train has reopened the possibility that some of the Weiss family's stolen treasures could finally be found. But it also revives painful memories of loss and trauma. Across Europe, countless families share similar stories. The Nazi regime orchestrated one of history's largest and most systematic thefts, stealing art, gold, jewelry, and personal belongings on an unimaginable scale. For many survivors and their descendants, The stolen objects represent more than material value. They are a link to a past violently torn away, a connection to ancestors erased by hatred. The search for these lost treasures is not just a treasure hunt. It's a search for justice and identity. For decades, survivors and their families have fought to reclaim what was taken from them, battling bureaucracy, legal hurdles, and sometimes indifference. The train's discovery ignites both hope and frustration. Could this hidden trove finally return stolen property? Or will the gold be absorbed into state coffers or private hands, leaving victims' families empty-handed once again? This tension is reflected in the emotions of those closest to the history. Some descendants see the find as a long-overdue recognition of their suffering and a step toward healing. Others fear it might commercialize or exploit their pain, reducing their ancestors' memories to mere commodities. Museums and Holocaust memorial organizations have been deeply involved in the aftermath of the discovery. They emphasize the importance of handling the recovered treasures sensitively, honoring their origins, and using them to educate future generations about the atrocities behind the glittering facade. The goal is to ensure these objects are not forgotten artifacts, but powerful symbols of resilience and remembrance. Legal battles loom large as well. Proving ownership after 80 years is a daunting challenge. Many families lack documentation, as Nazis destroyed records or forced victims to flee with nothing. International law and restitution frameworks are complex and often slow-moving. The train's contents add urgency, but also raise thorny questions about who has the right to claim what, especially when multiple countries and communities are involved. Beyond individuals, the discovery affects entire communities and nations. Poland, Germany, and other countries involved must confront their histories with renewed honesty. The stolen gold and art weren't just loot. They are fragments of culture and history ripped from the fabric of societies. Returning them, or at least acknowledging their provenance, is part of healing wounds that run deep. The Nazi gold train also serves as a stark reminder that the legacy of war and genocide is not confined to history books. It lives on in families, in memories, and in the ongoing fight for justice. It challenges the world to remember that behind every treasure recovered, there are human stories of loss, survival, and the enduring quest to reclaim what was stolen. But once the train was found and its secrets exposed, a new question emerged. How would this discovery impact the fragile relationship between the nations most entangled in its history? The political fallout. The unearthing of the Nazi gold train sent ripples far beyond archaeology or treasure hunting. It struck at the very heart of European politics, history, and identity. Poland and Germany, two nations with a complex and often painful shared past, suddenly found themselves thrust into a delicate dance of diplomacy, nationalism, and historical reckoning. At first glance, the discovery seems like a straightforward issue of property and heritage. The train was found deep in the forests of southwestern Poland, so naturally, many believed Poland had the primary right to claim and control the treasure. But as anyone familiar with European history knows, nothing about Nazi-era legacies is ever simple. The train's cargo was not just loot. It was stolen property forcibly taken from millions of victims across Europe, many of whom were Jewish, Polish, or from other occupied nations. For Poland, this meant navigating the tension between national pride and the heavy burden of historical trauma. The Polish government was quick to assert sovereignty over the find, framing it as a reclaiming of national heritage and a step toward justice for victims of Nazi occupation. Germany, on the other hand, took a more cautious approach. The German government expressed a willingness to cooperate, but also emphasized the importance of careful handling, international law, and respectful dialogue. The legacy of Nazi crimes remains a sensitive issue in Germany, where efforts to confront the past coexist with concerns over political stability and national image. This discovery, therefore, reopened wounds dating back decades, bringing unresolved questions about responsibility, reparations, and historical memory to the surface. Some Polish politicians and nationalist groups seized the moment to amplify their calls for stronger recognition of Polish suffering during the war, and in some cases, to criticize Germany's role in historical and contemporary issues. Meanwhile, in Germany, nationalist factions used the situation to fuel their own narratives, either downplaying Nazi atrocities or portraying Germany as unfairly targeted. These competing perspectives risked inflaming tensions rather than fostering reconciliation. The European Union found itself in an awkward position. As a union committed to cooperation, human rights, and shared history, it urged Poland and Germany to engage in constructive dialogue and joint stewardship of the artifacts. The EU's role as a mediator highlighted the need for supranational solutions to problems rooted in deeply national and emotional histories. International legal frameworks came into play, but as often happens with wartime reparations, laws were ambiguous and difficult to enforce uniformly. The question of ownership became not just legal, but profoundly political. Who gets to control the narrative of history, and who benefits from its material remnants? Amid this political chess game, historians and cultural experts warned against allowing nationalist rhetoric to overshadow the importance of preserving the artifacts and educating future generations. They urged both countries to see the discovery as an opportunity for dialogue, healing, and mutual understanding. But it wasn't just governments at play. Civil society groups, survivors' organizations, and the global Jewish community watched closely, advocating for transparency, justice, and remembrance. For them, the train symbolized not only stolen wealth, but also the enduring human cost of war and genocide. The discovery also sparked debates about how nations remember and teach history. In Poland, discussions intensified over Holocaust education, national heroism, and the acknowledgement of both victimhood and complicity during the war. In Germany, it renewed conversations about responsibility, collective memory, and the importance of confronting uncomfortable truths. These debates aren't unique to Poland and Germany. Across Europe, many countries struggle with how to integrate painful historical episodes into national identity, especially when the material legacy like the Nazi gold train resurfaces unexpectedly. The discovery forced both Poland and Germany to confront the uncomfortable reality that history isn't just in the past. It lives in the present, shaping politics, identity, and international relations. The Nazi gold train became a potent symbol of how the scars of war can influence the present day, but also how those scars might, if handled wisely, foster cooperation and understanding. The coming years will be critical. Will Poland and Germany use this moment to build bridges, jointly preserve and study the artifacts, and educate future generations about the horrors and lessons of the past? Or will the train's legacy deepen divides, fueling nationalism and mistrust? One thing is clear. The Nazi gold train is no longer just a lost relic. It's a powerful catalyst for political dialogue and historical reckoning. And how Poland and Germany respond will resonate far beyond their borders, shaping the future of European memory and unity. That's the end of the video. Subscribe to the channel for more.